2, 3, 4.
We've been friends
most of our lives. I had a couple of kids.
I've had a couple of wives. We'll
We
talk
talk
about
the
the
shit
we think we know. Back and smile. It's a Spike and Cat show.
All right. Hey. Welcome back, everybody. It's episode 3 of the Spike and Cat show. Coming to you live here on a Saturday afternoon. And just a real quick thing to get out of the way here for our people that do watch us live, which I mean, there's, the hundreds and hundreds that are tuned in right now. It's I'd say, and Spike, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. This is going to be normally a Thursday evening, and if not, sometime on Saturday show if you're watching live, and then obviously we'll push it out to all the streams and other businesses and la di da.
Yeah, we're trying to have somewhat of a regular schedule, but we both have lives going on too. Whoops.
So our regularly scheduled programming will start being semi-regular here in any moment. But other than that, yeah, just like the song says, it's the Spike and Cat show. We've known each other for a long ass time, and we're on here talking about the shit we think we know. So join in with us, have fun. It's nice to have those of you that are listening or watching or both. Hopefully, if you're watching, you're also listening. Otherwise, that'd be kind of odd. But whatever floats your boat, as they say. So anyway, with that being said, what we're going to talk about on this lovely Saturday afternoon evening is topic today is going to be meaning of life. And that can be a heavy one, but it's a Spike and Cat show, so settle in, and I'm sure we'll all be just fine. But yeah, so right at you and Spike here tonight. Good to see you.
Nice to see you, Cat.
Good to be here.
Well, it's interesting because we're getting pretty deep into the subjects all around, and well, I think our first our viewer mailbag that we're going to get to here pretty quickly kind of speaks to it. But people are curious, how can you be fucking around about such serious topics? Because what have we covered so far, Kat? We cover love. We had love and John Prine. What else have we talked about? Compassion or something. We get pretty deep, right? What are they? I forget.
Compassion. We started with What did we start with? What's episode 1? We've only
it was love.
We started.
I mean, in this season, of course.
Gratitude.
That's right. That's right. Love and gratitude. And so, so what we're going to be working on is we got the viewer mailbag today, and I thought we could just jump right into it, Kat, because I think there's some confusion about what exactly the show is, and I like how that graphic cuts your head off. Look, you can hide behind here if you want to, Kat.
That is good.
If you're ashamed of what you're doing.
I went the wrong way there.
See, and people, and that's kind of what they're talking about, because like with this advanced technology we have going, so we were talking about the portals. We were talking about, like, look at right here. We've got the logo right here. Okay, but sitting right behind here, what do I have? Sitting right behind there, a nice jar of Cranial Dislodge. See, so,
whoa.
But people would think that's sitting on your desk, but I'm just going to set it, whoops, I got to put it right in the logo, and it's in. See, so that's sitting inside that blue square that people see right there. Right there, right there.
Nice.
Right?
Perfect. That's a good place for it.
But, Kat, I was thinking a lot of the viewer mailbag had a lot to do with the products that we've got going on and stuff. And I was just wondering, can you talk for a second? I don't have them pulled up right now, but can you talk for a little bit about what Cranial Dislodge is and stuff, or why do we have the products and stuff? I got to jack around with a couple settings here and stuff, but for people that aren't familiar,
Yeah, let's get right into that. Cranial Dislodge. As you might be able to tell from the name, it's now don't be mistaken, it is a topical. So, and if you were with us last week, you may have saw the ad, and I'm sure that you'll see it again at some point in time. I believe you can always go to the website and see that as well. But anyway, old Cranial Dislodge. The thing that I don't think a lot of people know and I'm glad that we're actually helping to get the word out, is that it's been around for a while, and that's, I think, the what you can really say to it as far as like being proven and tested, and actually uh, they really know what they're doing, and they've really zeroed in on the ingredients. Oh, and like I said last week as well, and that cocoa butter scent, whew, that, I'll tell you what, that was a game changer. That really was.
Well, and I don't think enough people really appreciate the cocoa butter scent and what a difference that can
No,
make with cranial
no.
colon dysplasia. If I didn't have my head up my ass right now, Kat, I'd be able to pull up the image of it. But you can see, I mean, clearly here it is. There,
There
cranial
we
colon
go.
dysplasia.
Look at that.
So you got cocoa butter scent. It's a 100% pure petroleum jelly. We asked them when we were formulating it. I said, you know how a lot of people put in 110%? Can we do that? And the scientists were like, well, that's just an expression. And I kept saying, well, but I mean, we could do it, right? And they're like, well, no, that's just an expression. And I'm like, well, why could you not give 110%? That's what we expect, when it comes to, you know,
It
whatever.
was that the thing that I think was that we got out of that, though, Spike, that we did walk away with, was he did promise us that they themselves were going to give 110%, and I think that that's really all that you can do. We could try to cram 110% petroleum jelly into that container, but woof,
Well,
I,
but
whoa.
they just kept saying, "Oh, see, remember, there,
Yeah,
that's
that's
us."
right. It's all good, dude. I just had a senior moment there.
Poor cat. That's
Speaking of
awesome.
senior moments, I heard that there were some people that were had a question about something about the portals that you had
Oh
were
yeah,
talking about.
that's right. That's right. Well, just one second, Cat. I got a thing there. Okay, yeah.
No
Okay,
worries, no worries.
so
We still there's plenty more we can say about cranial colon
there's
dislodge.
so
I
much
do
you
have
can
one
tell.
more thing I would like to say. Um, it's been nice to talk about this. It gets my mind off of. I've been thinking about memo pads a lot earlier in the day. Anyway, but man, the, the old cranial colon dislodge with the holidays coming up, it really can be the gift that keeps on giving. Not only for the person that you give it to, but for everybody that has to spend that precious time with that person, and which it could be you, as it says. And what is it there? It's probably right for you, just like it says right there on the label. And that's in some nice font right there. Like that's not, they're not messing
That's
around.
not regular font. That's the kind of font that people expect with a premium product like cranial colon dislodge. So,
That's 110% right there, Spike.
well, see, and that's where there was some confusion because I thought for a little while, I thought, well, then why, if we can give, if we can give 110%, why can't we put 110% of pure petroleum jelly in there? And what everyone said was, that's not scientifically possible. Maybe if you tried some cranial colon dislodge, you'd be able to see that. So, at any rate, Kat, I'm kind of getting off track. But the point is, everybody, a lot of the questions we got this last week had to do with the devices and things we talk about. So we've got cranial colon dislodge. People can go to the website and find out more. We'll run the ad here later in the show if I get my act together. I don't know why I didn't have that stuff ready. And then we got the Spike and Cat decoder wheel. Check out the last couple episodes if you want to, but that's actually what our first viewer mailbag was about. And another great thing, a technology we have, this viewer speaks to. It says, "Dear Spike and Cat, love the show, longtime viewer, love the mailbag. On last week's show, you mentioned the portals behind Spike that reached into the year 3333. Everybody knows about the portals and stuff. So, does Cat have a portal too? And if so, where does it go?" And so just to refresh, so how it works is that I have a portal right here. You see that? So this goes into the year 3333, Cat. And I think we had one. You didn't have one last week, but I think we installed one. See if you got one. Let me get out of the way there.
I think I do here. Let me see. I believe right
There you go. Yep.
right in. Oh, right in
There you go.
there. Whoa. Yep.
There it is. That's the portal. Okay. So
Okay, wait.
it's
Let me get a little deeper in there.
there you go. Okay. And
Please.
What does it say? You see on the back side of the portal wall there, Kat, it tells you what year. There's a monitor. What year does it say you are? And what are you in the future? Are you the past? What is it?
Spike, that was, yeah, I didn't see a date. It seemed a little bit, like moist back there.
Moist.
I think maybe I'm gonna have to call the tech guy. Like I'm gonna have to see, what's going on. By tech guy, I mean the dude that I think may be able to get me mushrooms. And see if we can get this all fixed for next time. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't see a date. I'm guessing it goes somewhere because.
Well, see, the thing about it, Kat, is that really, I think what this person's confused about is that not everyone is fortunate enough to have portals. But here at the Spike and Cat Show, we try and deliver a level of, production. We were talking about the satellite trucks last week and all that stuff. See here, if I reach in here, there it is. There it is. Okay.
Oh.
There, see, you're in it. Here, shake hands, Cat. Hey, look at you're in 3333.
Oh my God!
No, dude. Remember, I was saying it was humid in there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I feel like it's when you. Maybe my side just needs like a hose down or something. I don't know, but.
Well, see, so look at this, Cat.
Cool.
And what's crazy about the portal is I have a regular old pencil here, and I can reach this through to the portal, and it'll turn into something different. That's the thing about the future. They still have pens and pencils, but because it's the future, I'll hand it through to you 3333 style, and when you pull it out, I don't believe it'll be a pencil. It may just be something random like you might have on your desk or something. See, so check this out. I'm gonna reach it through, through. Yep. Now you reach through, maybe down onto your desk.
Okay.
Do you feel anything around there? Anything?
Where are we here?
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Now I'm gonna pull it. Okay. I don't have it anymore.
Oh.
What do you have?
Oh wow! It turned into a click pen.
A click pen. See, the future. They don't tolerate that junk that I
bumped like a ways, obviously, because a click pen. I mean, way more technologically advanced than just a pencil.
Well, see, and that's what I'm saying, Kat, is that so when people are sitting here going like, man, this just seems like some half-ass show where it's a couple of dudes sitting and bullshitting about stuff. Well, when you're paying for this level of technology and you're working this hard to bring this level of entertainment to people, I think that they should expect portals. They should expect decoder wheels. You know what I mean? And that's the thing is that if people have questions about stuff and then they can't figure it out, Cranial Dislodge. That's where you see we're solving problems here, Kat. We're trying to help people, and so, anyways, I guess I feel like that was a pretty good question, and the thing is, Kat, we also got one. Let's see. Do you remember?
Let me see over here, dude. Wait, before you get too deep.
Okay.
I think we got one that seems pretty equal over here that I was able to sift through. Oh, yeah. This viewer seems a little bit. Well, I guess it's kind of in the same light as the one that you just did. Do you mind if I go with this one?
No, please, Kat. I'm just looking around here, anyways. Please do.
Okay. All right. So, it says. Dear Spike and Cat, been watching your show for a long time. See, that always makes me curious. Ooh, wow. Okay, so seems like half the shit you say is serious and half is bullshit.
Okay, fair enough. And so their point is what?
Well, no. Oh, sorry. It goes out. Sorry. That was just me. I was letting us soak that in. I was giving it something.
You were just kind of giving it the girlfriend. Like they're kind of calling us out on it, and we're supposed to be like, no,
sorry,
it's
I'll
not.
See that again. Seems like half the shit you say is serious and half is bullshit. Spike. Oh wow. So it's actually two. Wow. It's right to you. You might maybe you said something. I don't know what's going on there. Wondering if you can tell me more about this money back guarantee of yours.
The heavens thing, right? They're talking about well, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward concept. Here's the deal. Kat, Kat and I, we have wide varieties of points of view on many things, right? Theology is a very interesting thing. We both grew up kind of being taught about specific things, and then we've grown into adult men that have tried to figure out different aspects of it. And one of the really interesting things is that in terms of our friends out there that want to cram their theology down your throat, right? Because whatever belief, I'm peace and love. Whatever religion that is, I'm peace and love. You know what I'm saying? But for the people that want to kind of weaponize their religion and say, well, you only get, if whatever heaven is, you only get that. Like I knew a dude one time that said, he said, we have to know Jesus' name in order to get into heaven. And what I said to him was, I was like, you mean like a password? And he's like, yeah, literally exactly like a password. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you have to say Jesus when, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what if you're Spanish and you say Jesus? Nope, it's Jesus Christ. And I'm like, where the hell does it say that, right? Like, so I don't know that. So what I'm thinking is a lot of people have aspects on their religion where, you have certain things. Well, if you're worried about it, we're working on developing a package where it's the spike and cat, just like with Cranial colon Dislodge, just like with the wheel. We're putting together products that solve problems, and one of them is the spike and cat discount, and that's the thing. We're saving people money on it too. Guarantee you'll get to heaven. Guarantee you'll get to heaven. I mean, basically the gist is, look, you can pay $10, you can pay $100, whatever, right? And just like you can name, like the star registry. You know how the star registry works, where you can name a star after somebody? Kind of the same. Kind of the same concept, except this is like an insurance policy that when you die, right, and you've bought the spike and cat heaven guarantee, right, $10, $100, whatever, right? You show that certificate when you get to heaven, bing, you're in. No matter what. And if you get to the pearly gates and they say, nope, sorry, we don't take those anymore or whatever, bring it back to us. You bring it right back to Spike and Cat. We will refund whatever you put in. See, so that's a guarantee. That brings people a level of comfort that I just don't think that you're going to find everywhere. And do you feel that that's a fair deal, Kat? What's your thoughts on it?
So to me, it seems like a win-win, but I just want to make sure I'm completely clear on it as well, because this viewer seems like, like I said, like you said earlier, we're here to clear up a few things, just to get. I'm gonna kind of steer it back at you here, Spike. So it's. I think that I have this right, and if I'm right, I don't see it any way other than a win-win. But let me try and spit it back here. So it starts with you can give whatever it is, and that's you're guaranteed. You give whatever it is you're going to give. You're guaranteed to go to heaven. But if you get to heaven,
yep,
and then they say, "Whoop, full," or remember that little guy?
Yeah, kind of like get out of jail type of shit. Yeah, right on. Yep.
And then you don't go, or whatever happens, and you don't go. Then you let us know, you bring us the whatever it is it says you didn't get to have. I guess you being here would say that you probably didn't get there. And
you bring it back.
And we actually refund. We will give you 100% your money back.
Exactly, and that's the thing, Kat. Is like people say, "Well, that sounds like a fucking bullshit scam," and it's like, well, I mean,
win-win.
It's a win-win because you can go to some churches and they say throw some money in. You don't know where it's going. You don't know. You're hoping. Look. You're hoping the good Lord's looking down on you, seeing you in the pew, seeing you get off of your hard-earned bucks and throwing them in the dish, and you're thinking like, well, is that paying for Padres Ferrari out in the driveway, or is that paying for, you know what I'm saying, or is that paying for me to get to heaven? Is this like a, and that's where we're just coming right out and saying like, look, and that's where Kat, again, I got to come back to the fact that don't forget our show sponsor today is about cranial colon dysplasia. And I think a lot of times when people are looking for that quick, get to heaven scheme, well, you look no further than cranial colon dysplasia. I mean, first, if you can pull your head out of your colon, you're going to, and that's the thing, is that it probably is right for those folks out there and stuff, Kat. And so when it comes to, understanding how it all works, we're talking about deep subjects. We talked about love, Now we're talking about the ever after and stuff. And don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm peace and love. I have my beliefs. I'm not sure exactly how it goes, but this is more of an insurance policy for the people that aren't just like being a good person just to be a good person, or they're only treating others the way they want to be treated so that they get that gold cookie, but they're worried like, oh man, what if this ain't enough because I'm still kind of a dickhead.
Yeah.
Right? You see what I'm saying? So that's where we're just trying to help people, Kat. You know, and so, you know, it's interesting to me on that whole topic, all bullshit aside. Now, just being semi-serious for 1 second, just to reframe. One of the things that aggravates me a bit about all of people wanting to solve problems in general, right, Kat, is like right now, we have a rescue dog, right? Awesome dog, right? I love dogs. I'm a big proponent of dogs, right? But right now, so there's a group out there that's helping rescue dogs, right? But then there's also a group out there that's helping, like, say, well, we talk a lot about homelessness because all bullshit aside, we care about homelessness, right? And the thing is that when it comes to sociological issues, one of my biggest frustrations is that we don't have a collective idea. You were talking about the wildfires and stuff, Kat, right? Like,
Yep.
We haven't really coordinated our ideas yet enough to get to the point where we decide. Like, I wish there was like a sociological hierarchy of issues, right? So we say, instead of there being all of these small fragmented groups working on just one idea or for their own ideology or their own whatever, I wish that we could get to a point as a community where we have just like a hierarchy of, we need to address this, then we need to address this, then we need to address this. So like, let's say for instance, all of the people that care about, and I'm not discrediting any one of them, but I'm just saying all the people that care about animal rights. That's very important. It really is, right? But there are human beings right now that are really struggling. Whole masses of human beings. You could look at the migration that people are trying to do. You could look at homelessness. You could look at, there's so many aspects of humans that we could help right now. And my point is, I'm curious your thoughts, but wouldn't it be interesting if we could kind of come up with a way where we said, look, we all want to work on this stuff. We all want to make it better. But how about instead of 100 groups of 10 people, how about we all come together and chip away at these things incrementally? You know what I'm saying? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think, I mean, that's obviously that would be amazing. I mean, and I love that idea, and the idea that you, the original thought of it, of like the prioritization of like or like a hierarchy of these, of the way that we as a society decide to come together and really tackle, and I don't know why I'm using that word necessarily, but really like come after an issue and make it better, right? Make it positive. So, I mean, it would be amazing. I mean, I think that you could look at it through other scopes too. And I mean, I think a lot of people right out of the gate would just immediately say, well, that's what our government's supposed to do. Well, guess what, everybody? You know, we can sit back and say that and I'm not saying that we don't in so many ways. We can always sit back and say, oh, we have the greatest this, we have the greatest that, we have the greatest democracy, blah, 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 blah. But the real thing is that if and you make once again an excellent point, that if we could all come together on these certain issues, and even if you want to look at a bigger picture, think of like the idea, like you look at these cities and you look at the different areas where infrastructure is going through like really bad, like bridges are collapsing, or things like roads have not been taken care of for generations upon generation, or whatever it might be. You know, entire cities are you know, whatever, wasting away, and nobody's there, you know, putting that time or energy into it. And you could, and within that, in that betterment as well, comes that idea of then, okay, so now that was the priority there. We've now made it so that the bridge isn't going to collapse and the road's better and all that's good. Now let's, like you said, or maybe even before that, it's that what is in what order. But yeah, if we could come together and actually solve these problems as a society, that would be, I mean, it'd be phenomenal.
Well, and it just seems like there would be an interesting way to, I don't know, I honestly don't know exactly how you would come up with what the hierarchy is, but I think that reasonable people would be able to say, look, I love animals, I do, but I just think human beings maybe should be the priority, right? I mean, you know, that people would make arguments against that, but to me it's like, you know, yes, dogs can be a better friend than a friend sometimes, but by the same token, maybe people who have been hurt or marginalized through no fault of their own. Start there, or at the disabled or the disenfranchised or whatever. You know what I mean? But my point is that if we really, I'm always fascinated by that. That one person alone might not be able to lift up a car, but you see a group of people and they can move mountains literally. And so wouldn't it be interesting if we could figure out some way to do that? And so when we're joking about the heaven stuff, it's like, I don't want to get super deep into whatever my beliefs are right now, but the reality is I think there's something out there. I do. And I was raised to believe in Jesus, but I'm cool with Buddha and Native American beliefs and all sorts of stuff. I really am. And I'm reverent to anybody's peaceful thing. But if you only do the good thing so that you get some reward at the end, I would think God or the ultimate creator or whatever would see right through that, right? So that's where we miss these opportunities on a daily basis just to be kind or compassionate to each other. So that's where we're joking around about this shit. But the Cranial and Dislodge and stuff like that, it's kind of, and their product's designed exactly for that situation where it's like, are you fucking joking me, dude? Like, and so that's the thing is I wish that and that's what I think a lot of what we're actually talking about because of the portals and stuff is the future. Like, where is this whole thing going, right? And to be able to figure out that if we can work together on these things, like I always think like with a few weeks ago we were talking about the terrible wildfires that have happened in California and stuff, and we have more and more hurricanes every year and stuff, and I think like, well, why, if we can have all of these gigantic warships and all of that, why don't we have like a ready to go, what are they called? Airplane, the really big ones, you know what I mean? Like battleships or whatever.
Yeah.
Why can't we have a battleship that's just completely stocked with like water, provisions, temporary housing, and it just kind of floats around out in the ocean, and then as soon as that bad thing happens, you know what I mean? And it'd be really, I'd be curious to see what the hell happens as far as society goes and stuff. But what if we were going to go that direction, Kat, what would be the priorities as you would argue it?
Like as far as something like a hierarchy, like you're saying?
I'm just curious. I mean, because what would it be? How would you even begin to do it?
I mean, I think one of the biggest, I think two big issues that we need to tackle. Geez, I keep going right back to that. I'm obviously super excited about football. Oh, and here we go with the water bottle. We're back to like the old days.
Dude, did it go over?
The shit never stops over here, man. It's just constant motion. This portal. But anyway, hierarchy. Yeah. I mean, I think two things. I think a narrow. I think that to go a little bit broader, and I think that that's part of what the whole thing behind our show is that we're just kind of out here trying to help widen the scope as well, right? Because like you said earlier, when you have those people that have a super narrow scope or narrow idea of something, and especially it seems like if they start throwing in religion and involved in that type of a thing, and or politics at some level, and it's super narrow, you're not going to get very far. And so I think with that being said, I do think as far as a hierarchy, there does have to be some narrowing of it. And I think that with the homeless issue in general, I think looking at mental health and mental illness and taking a serious,
right.
Putting a serious amount of attention into that and actually trying to help those people. Because
well, I mean, but that's what's so interesting is that at the end of it, because we're talking about love and compassion and all that stuff, but we're joking around about some bullshit too. But the reality is that when it comes down to giving a shit about each other, I mean, you're one of the biggest music fans I know, and the music that you care about at the end of the day, I would argue the vast majority of songs are about love, you know what I'm saying, or something. And as far as the homeless stuff goes or whatever, I keep reflecting on the fact that, I mean, we have welfare, we have stuff like that, but we really don't have these great systems for people that are just feeling fucking desperate. Or if you need to go to a therapist, you've got to have insurance for all this stuff. But yet we wonder then why we have these epidemics of like, uh, huge opiate abuse and hardcore alcohol problems and stuff like that, but people don't have resources to go. And I hope that as time goes on and us talking about it and tons of people talking about it, that's what I genuinely hope for the future, is that I believe that we're gonna get to a point where giving a shit about each other becomes more the fashion, because it seems like right now just giving a shit about yourself is kind of the big thing. Agree or disagree?
Oh, totally. I think across the globe, I think that we're getting better. Um, I think we have a long ways to go.
You mentioned,
And just to quickly go back
oh
to
yeah,
the topic of the homeless and and mental health and mental illness. I'm trying to be not exaggerating. I would say somewhere between 75 to 85% of homeless people in the city of San Francisco, if not the Bay Area, have some sort of mental health issue or mental illness that they should be having taken care of, or doing something, or getting some sort of help with. But
and
yeah, and so I mean, yeah. But to go back to what you were saying, I mean, yeah, it's that idea of well, it's that basic idea of like the golden rule, right? And I hope that our society's steering more that way, where we're able to say, you know, hey, we got to do something about humanity. We got to see the greater good in all of this. And I think that the other thing, just quick to throw it out there too, not to get too deep into this topic, because it's a big one as well, is obviously I think that we could seriously put on that hierarchy an evaluation of our current prison system and be
right,
like, ooh, we may be doing something wrong there. So that would be another one that I think would be right up there as
right.
far as humanity and helping, you know, create positive change, if you will.
Well, see, and we've talked a bunch of times about like the cognitive dissonance stuff, or dissonance, and just knowing something and not letting your brain acknowledge that it's the truth and stuff. But there's a situation where any reasonable person would be able to see that, okay, well, the disproportionate incarceration of minorities has an awful lot to do with with majority treatment of minorities, and policies that imprison fathers oftentimes, mothers oftentimes, takes the father away from the family unit, so you don't have a way to raise money for your family. You don't have that other parental unit. And so and then those kids are raised without parents, without finances, and without the support of their community. And they're supposed to turn out awesome. How? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yep,
like
exactly.
it's desperation and stuff. And that's the thing, that it's sort of like, I wish that people just had that basic humanity to say like, well, I give a shit enough about other people that I'm just going to do it for the right reason, right? But if you can't do it for the right reason, maybe you could understand that sociologically it has implications, because if you've got a family that can't eat that night, and dad's in a really desperate situation, he might have to bust a window to get a jar of something to eat, because if people aren't hiring him and people aren't, you know what I mean? And so that's where there's sociological ramifications to kindness that go beyond, like, you shouldn't have to do it for self-serving. You should be a decent person for self-serving reasons, or for not self-serving reasons. But if you need a reason, then look at what an investment it is into your society and stuff. But I wish it was just basic human decency, where people understood, you know, a lot of people that are in prison oftentimes are struggling from mental health issues, also abuse, neglect, poverty, and yet, or you look around the world and stuff, and it's like, that's one of the great things that I feel about the technology. With the technology, that portal just tipped over, Kat. Has nothing to do with me hitting my microphone with the guitar, but you know, that's one of the great things about the technology that we are fortunate to have right now, is that maybe the desperation that people have felt before was that they couldn't say anything, they couldn't do anything, but here we are, just a couple of doofuses making a show, and we're trying to say something. And I really genuinely believe that if more people tried to do this, you know, just speak out about, hey, I give a shit about this group for XYZ reason.
Yeah.
And so, but anyways, yeah. But back to the hierarchy aspect, Kat. So you're saying that the homelessness aspect. I'm really curious, and I don't know that we've ever specifically talked about it, but you've talked a lot about homelessness in our private conversations and in general, what is it specifically that makes you so genuinely empathetic about it? I mean, like, I'm serious.
That's an interesting question. There's two answers. One is that I've known people in my life that are and that have been that will always be truly dear to me and that I'll love that you know it I I feel like there were moments in some people's lives that I know where, and maybe they even were, if you want to call whatever you want to call homeless, or I think seeing it as much as I do, but I also think growing up, um, yeah, I think a lot of it's just that I don't know, it's so sad, it's so sad to me, like it's like I talked about on the previous episode. It's so sad to me, just like that basic thing that we um, don't necessarily take for granted, but I think that we do just because we become comfortable, and is shelter. And I don't know, it's hard, it's tough. And when I say tough, I don't mean tough as in I want to sit and cry myself to sleep about it, but it's tough in just like that it's reality and it's life, that I walk on my door and I see that struggle, and it's constant, and it's there's a lot of nothing being done about it, and I can't sit here and say that I know what's being done about it 100% or 110% for that matter. But at the same time, I know that we could be doing a lot more. And when I say that, I mean globally, of course, but I even mean in the pocket of where I'm currently at. But it's and not to try and sit here and tell people my address or anything like that by any means. But yeah, it's just it's I think it's because it's such a reality. But I think it's been something even since I was really, really small. I don't really know. That's actually a really good idea that I don't know, idea is not the right word. But I should think a little bit more. Like I almost wonder if it's not something like back for, you know what I mean, back further in my mind of like um deeper as to why. But anyway,
Well, I wonder. No, I mean, it's just interesting because I wasn't sure. It's something that you bring up. Like I bring up the importance of race a lot because I've shared before that my mom's life was saved by. My mom's life was saved in 1960. The spring of, or I'm sorry, the late winter of 62 to the early spring of 1963, my mom was super sick with this aneurysm on her kidney and was going to die. And I wasn't born until years later. And a black surgeon, in fact, if anyone's watching and anyone happens to know, I believe his name is Eldon Lawrence, right? Dr. Eldon Lawrence is what my mom said. At the University of Iowa, I believe. But I've called there, I've tried to look into it. But anyways, this gentleman put his medical license on the line to save my mom's life. And it's a really compelling story because he did an experimental surgery. He did, and so that's a story I heard coming up all the time when I was a little kid. And a lot of my heroes, like I talk all the time about Dr. King too, but the thing about Dr. King to me is when I first became familiar with his story, I was just stunned, almost like superhero style, at this guy's courage. Like, what the hell? Because I'm not going to get into my whole background right now, but having people stand up to bullies is a difficult thing. Any human would understand that. And this guy is sitting here going out on a limb and stuff. And so, racial injustice has always been a very passionate thing to me, just because human decency, I don't know, it just really strikes my heart. Peace and kindness and that type of stuff. But you talk about homelessness, you bring it up on a really regular basis, and so does another loved one of mine. And I think about it all the time. I think like, well, you can't compel people to not be homeless. You can't like take, or I don't know all the laws and stuff. But by the same token, I just wish that we had more. It's interesting because right now, if I've got a sore tooth, I know where I can go. But if I'm a parent and I'm struggling with mental health, or I'm struggling financially, and it has huge sociological ramifications, where do you go? Like, what do you do? If anybody knows, get a hold of us and tell us. But right now, as it is, it seems like it's kind of every man for themselves. And this idea of, look, I'm communism and all that shit. I'm not talking about words like that, but I'm talking about we have the common decency when there's a fire to send the fire truck over and put it out and help your family. We don't send you a bill for that. You know what I mean? But, you know, all these other things are huge expenses and stuff. And it's just like, and I'm not talking about a welfare state or anything like that. I'm just talking about there's some situations where if we could, as a society, decide this is really important, then this, and then all of these smaller groups all decide, instead of us being a bunch of micro groups, we're going to look at this hierarchy and say we're going to put all our resources into this and fix that. And then our resources, or have 3 of them that you're working on at the same time. But, you know, and I'd heard an idea in Buddhism at one point where they were talking about when you've got a problem, think of it as a square and then, or as a cube, and chip away at the corners. And eventually it starts rolling on its own. So I think once you start taking care of some of these bigger sociological issues, you're actually going to end up having, you know, there'll be other residuals of it that are really beneficial.
It's going to have to be, I mean, I truly believe it's going to have to be a come together attitude that makes some of this that we do start chipping away at these corners of these cubes and get these things rolling, because there's a lot of things that we can do, and I think that a big part of it is communication. I think a big part of it is talking about it, is about getting the word out there, finding out, like, here's, like, let me be real about it for a minute. And I think that this is something that a lot of people don't think about. Do you think that woman or that man wants to be taking a shit in the middle of the sidewalk? Do you think that they want to be having to take a piss half hidden behind a garbage can? Do you think they want to sit in between cars and change clothes? Do you think that woman wants to go put lipstick on while looking hopefully in the mirror of a car if somebody doesn't yell at her, but she's probably using like the metal part on like the bus stop stand to try to see herself like it's a mirror? Like, I mean, that's, I guess, the reality. Like, we don't take the time to actually spend a moment to be like, why are you here? Well, you know, like, have a lot of people stopped and asked somebody, like, what happened? Like, why are, like, I want to help you. And you know, when you help somebody and I think you're truly doing it in the way that you are helping them, there's room to be honest with each other and give it a shot. I mean, and maybe part of it for me and maybe part of it for you is it's as simple as we grew up somewhere where we say hello to people when we walk past them. We wave at people when we drive past people, and they wave back.
And it's interesting, you know, because for a lot of the things that when people talk about small town and all that stuff, there's one part of it that does come down to human decency. That's always my hope for society in general, where it's like, look at a small community when something tragic happens and you see some of the coolest things, because you'll see people that might be on far sides of a divide, but by the same token, because I don't want to get too homer on it and stuff, but the reality is that's a beautiful part of it. But I just wish that we were talking kind of about the meaning of life and stuff, and it's funny because if the meaning of life is what I was taught when I was young in the religious belief that I was raised in, basically was that God made this earth. You're supposed to, you're going to be challenged with a whole bunch of obstacles, and you're supposed to use God's rules to get through it, get your soul stronger, and then when you die, if you did the right shit, you get to go to heaven, right? And so, but then all of a sudden I get taught all these complex rules, like you got to stand during this part and drink this and do that, and really when it comes down to it, that was the really fascinating part, was as I got older and started looking at all of these different forms of theology and stuff, and in my art history class with Alan Fisher, he compared and contrasted all of the primary world's religions. And one of the things, because we were talking about symbolism in art, we did a very long portion of it, but what was so interesting is that all of the world's primary religions basically have some version of the golden rule as their number one thing, right? So they most of them have a concept that they were created, they're supposed to be stronger, God's coming back for them someday, or they get to go to heaven or whatever. But golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated, was always the big one. And it's sort of like, that's where I feel like we're falling so short. And one of the things that really struck me, Kat, and I know we got it as a topic that we're going to talk about in the future, but greed is such a wild thing. Because I grew up in a big family. We didn't have a ton, you know what I mean? But I've never tried to be jealous of people necessarily. But one of the things that's always struck me is that, and I say it often, but poverty isn't a choice. Poverty isn't a choice. Greed is a choice. You know what I mean? And but on the other side, we talk all the time about compassion, and I think that there's probably a lot of people out there that are sitting there with buco bucks, but don't know what the hell to do with it, or don't know what they're supposed to do, or how they can, because you can fuck people's life up by giving them a bunch of cash too and stuff. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying there's a ton of great organizations out there, and here we are, vaguely the Christmas season and stuff, and it's the season of giving. And you know what, man? If there's somebody that you know that's struggling, if you just do the good thing for them, let's say God is watching, you do the good thing for them, and God's watching, great. That's another token for you to get to go wherever you think you're going to get to go. But even if God's not watching, that's a human being. You know what I mean? And you should just have common decency. Treat others the way you want to be treated isn't just great theology. It's great sociological. And that's where it's hard to talk about, theology and not have it sound like I'm not trying to sell anybody any Kool-Aid. I'm just a human being. I crack jokes. I like all sorts of things that are inappropriate. But at the end of the day, I'm all about peace and love. All I want is good things for other people. And it genuinely makes me feel good when things go well for other people. And the one point I wanted to make, just to get your read on it, was I was talking to my son the other day, and I was saying, it's an interesting thing about greed. Follow this noodle for a second, Kat. That, okay, well, I've got my own jar of Cranial Dislodge, and what's so awesome about it is I bought this. You don't have it, right? You don't have it. There, you're over there. But you don't have it, right? And the thing about greed or materialism, and to that regard, is it's not just the fact that I have something nice, but you don't have it, and I, without being overly overt about it, actually derive a certain amount of joy from your misery of not having it. So it's me having it, you not having it, and me knowing you want it. How the fuck is that cool? That ain't cool. That's dick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
that's the most uncool shit ever. That is super uncool.
Well, and that's the funny thing is we're at a time, like that cognitive dissonance thing is that we're at a time in world history, it seems right now, where, you get the politicians you deserve and stuff like that. But if we're going to celebrate greed, we're going to celebrate, gold gilded everything. I need to land on top. It's a me firster type of world versus let's give a shit about each other. Boy, that's what you're going to get. But it's just fascinating to me. I think as we go through this, we're going to talk about fear. We're going to talk about greed. We're going to talk about these heavy subjects. But the funny thing is that we keep joking about cranial dislodge, but the reality is that when you look at the symptoms that they are, okay, so we've got congested feeling, unpleasant scent, confusion, right? And the confusion thing, I think, Kat, oftentimes goes back to that idea that you're feeling fear in a situation where you shouldn't feel fear, or you're not liking somebody that you should like. You know what I mean? And that's where I think that cranial dislodge works out for everybody. And I was just going to say, before we get all buttoned up here, Kat, it is the holiday season, and I think that it's important that, can you talk a little bit about, Kat had a great idea, the holiday gift pack. Can you talk a little bit about what that is, Kat?
Sure. The holiday gift pack. This can be very helpful. What it is, it's a combo pack, as you can see there, and it's a combo of, and these two items really, and we can go through it real quick if you don't mind, scenario Spike.
Sure.
I think that really gets the point across. But just to get the word out there here quick now, you'll, as you can see, it's the Spike and Cat decoder ring. Now, the Spike and Cat decoder ring, let's just hold on a minute on that. And then along with that is the cranial dislodge. Now the thing is you either can use both of these if need be, or you can always, I think the decoder ring is something that, you're probably going to want for yourself, and for you to use to just really try and to weave your way through those tough moments throughout the holidays and throughout the, year to come. But that cranial colon dislodge, it, like you said, it could be for you, but if not, it's definitely something you can gift to somebody else who really, really does have that cranial colon dysplasia. So that can be also good. So it's it can be three things in one. Two, you bought two items and you're going to give one, which is even a bigger, better thing. So there we go. Three for two.
So
Three birds.
Three birds, one stone.
Three birds, a decoder ring, and a jar of stuff.
And so, Kat, on that, just to put it out there, cranial colon dysplasia, it's an epidemic. During the holidays, you're going to see this kind of stuff. Congested feeling, unpleasant scent. You keep talking up how it's got the cocoa butter scent, and I think that that's something that people need to appreciate. So there it is, cranial colon dislodge at the Spike and Cat show, or at spikeandcat.com, right? Yep. We got it up here, spikeandcat.com, and then we've got, you can get cranial colon dislodge, you can get the combo pack.
Sorry, Spike. Let's talk real quick about that decoder ring. Do you mind?
Please. Here, let me bring it up for you, Ken.
All right. So, why don't you give the more of the top level, and then maybe we can walk through a quick scenario.
Sure. Well, and the thing is that like we've talked about with cranial colon dislodge and the decoder ring, is in essence we saw a need out there in society where, when you're looking at the decoder wheel specifically, what you've got is, we had a team of scientists kind of come together, and we thought, okay, we're going to come into a situation here in the holidays where families can have a way of saying things that you wish they wouldn't, and so on and so forth. And so what the idea was basically we developed the decoder wheel. So here, Kat, you're going to play, what was Crazy Uncle's name again? I forget, Kat.
Was it old great old Uncle Dilbert?
Dilbert. I always mispronounce his name, and he fucking goes ape shit.
Delbert. I think it is Delbert. Because
you're right. That's one thing about made up uncles, is that they can really pull some shit there where they can freak out about details.
He gets pissed at you when you say his name wrong, dude.
And I'm like, dude, you're a made up person anyways. But that's how it is. So anyways, what we got is it's the decoder wheel, and so with this, what. And I always have problems because I'm kind of running low on cranial colon dislodge. But at any rate, so basically, Kat, you give me you play Uncle Delbert, and you give me a question. Okay, Spike's coming in from Colorado. He moved out there. He's back for the holidays, and you know all the shit that I'm up about. So Delbert's saying this is his chance to fucking poke at me. What do you want to do? And then I'm going to run it through the decoder wheel.
Great old Uncle Delbert sees you walk in the door, and you haven't sat down for more than, say, you've just gotten comfortable. The football game's on, but it's really low, the volume. And great old Uncle Delbert sort of goes, oh yeah, well there, Spike. I suppose you're out there in Colorado, where as long as you don't become one of them damn weed heads smoking them left-handed cigarettes, you're probably going to be just fine, because none of them potheads can keep a job, and then it just keeps blah, blah, blah. So then that's where you get at the point where at some point in there you are going to want to definitely pull out that decoder ring.
Well, you see, and that's what I'm talking about, Kat. So strangely enough, that's actually been one, because as people may know, you and I are advocates in the cannabis realm, and that's part of what people probably aren't understanding, is that those are topics that we speak out about from time to time. And so when it comes down to it, you're going to see here coming through, we got a picture of cannabis. Yeah, we enjoy cannabis, whatever. So at any rate, Kat, let's.
Oh, it is.
Did it? Oh, yeah. Hey, look. Oh, here we go.
Never
okay,
mind.
there's Kat.
Oh,
okay, so there's Kat. Oops, I always forget to push this button. Here's Kat.
I'm the worst, dude.
Dude, that's awesome. That's me.
I'm gonna learn how all this works.
No, dude. That's Lebowski. It's coming around. Be patient. Be patient. We're just trying to show people in the crowd that maybe don't understand what cannabis is.
But I think that on that topic, real quick, as I'm sitting here giggling.
Please. There, cannabis. That's cannabis. It's not that big, and that to scale, that's bigger than the average.
I'm getting close to it, like when you used to like turn the magazine different angles or whatever. No, but it's not only talking about cannabis, but it's talking about it in the same way we do everything else, in a very real, being very real about it, being very honest about it, being very open, and also talking about it intelligently in the way that you and I both understand it, and how it's being used, medicinally, and yet, blah blah blah. But
well, yeah, and so Delbert, right? Yeah, that's the thing is
right.
we're advocates, and we're trying to speak out. What we're trying to do is tell the shit, talking about the shit we think we know. And if there's one thing I know, smoking weed, never specifically smoking weed, didn't kill people. Like, I think it's Joe Rogan has a joke where he says the only way anybody ever dies from marijuana is when the CIA drops a bale out of a plane. So, this isn't going out anywhere, is it, Kat? Okay, but at any rate, so Uncle Delbert, he says, okay, so you've got on the wheel, I'm going to bring up the wheel just for people to see
yes,
as we're kind of talking through it, and then they can, whoops, I got to bring this up, let me do that. Okay, so here's the decoder wheel. It's available, order today at spikeandcat.com, and it like I said, we had a team of scientists help us develop this. So the gentleman with cranial colon dysplasia right there in the middle, he's the dial, and then the white wheel actually spins, and the outer black wheel spins. And so you can start out with, you have it orientated kind of how it's shown there, where Spike and Cat are to the left. And so Delbert's talking, what would you say? Is it politics, religion? Is that race? Is that sexuality? Is that other? So we're talking weed. Is that politics, I would say, Cat?
Is there a way you can get it somehow in between, like, well, it's kind of other, I mean, I guess it could be thought of in a lot of different ways. You could even throw a little religion on top of that, right? Like, you could go other politics. He probably, because if you're looking at it from a great old Uncle Delbert's perspective too, there's probably some religious implications.
Okay. So we got politics and religion, right? So I got the unit on the dude kind of pointed towards politics. I got his chest pointed towards religion, and then his feet end up kind of like circle of fifth style, pointing at sexuality. Whoops, and then and then I got to get this pointed up. You start out with it pointed up and have a toke, right? So have a toke's at the top, okay, because that's kind of the preferred. Okay, and then around the perimeter, like I say, you've got go big, you've got have a toke, you've got run away, walk away, look over there, stuff it in. We all know about stuff it in. Poke at it. So that's kind of where it's, that's always, that you never know, okay? So, and then we got pretend you're napping. And Delbert might always go for the pretend you're napping. You know what I mean? He might be sitting there going like, fuck, that looks pretty legit, bro. And next thing you know, you're both just snoozed on it, letting the turkey digest or whatever. So we got it on politics and religion. And you can... The great thing about this, to reiterate, Kat, is this was formulated by a team of scientists, you and I, and a group of therapists. That the number one thing is you can't do it wrong, right? So
no, yes, that's right. That actually is true, Spike. You can't. That is a very important part of it. You can't do it wrong.
So you got politics, religion. We got have a toke at the top, and then so right now it's it's clicked to stuff it in, right? That's how it lines up, But I think that because Delbert trends further to the right than I do, not like full 180, but he definitely trends a bit to the right. What I'm going to do is I take the whole thing, you take the middle wheel, and I want to run away. That's what I'm thinking, right? Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Guess what? The feet are pointing at poke at it. See, so that's where it's saying you can do that, but so that's saying I'm coming from Delbert's point of view, like, okay, Delbert, you want to fucking go with this stuff. Let's talk a little bit about cannabis and all that stuff. But the other thing you can do is, so that's going if I go to the right with those settings. But now watch this. This is where the technology really comes in, is that now if I go to the left, which is my preference in this situation, Ding. What am I pointing at, Cat? Have a toke. Have a toke. See? You just say, you know what, Delbert? I'll tell you all about that. I got to go use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back. Just stay put, because it's actually a long story and it really gets into some pretty deep stuff, okay? You know, and it's one of those things.
Which actually saying that kind of pokes at him a little bit before you even go. Like saying
pack him up just in case, So here's what's going to happen is Delbert is going to hear that, oh shit, I think I might have just kind of, you know, stirred the bear a little bit with this hippie kid. I don't really want to hear about it. I thought he was going to, like, you know, run away or something. But no, see, that's where the wheel comes in, because you're thinking run away, and then Delbert wins. He bullied you out of the living room so he can watch his fucking game or whatever, right? But nope, this is the holidays, Delbert. I ain't taking it. So you talked about have a safe space. You go have a little taste there. You come back, and if Delbert's still there, you fill him up with indica, sativa, the endocannabinoid system, how it helps Parkinson's, nobody died, you know, that all that stuff. And just until if he don't nod off or ask you for a pull, you know, then something.
Then I'd say use the wheel again. Then you go back to it. If you don't, Or
Cat, that's when you pull out the old cranial colon dislodge and you tell Delbert, if this ain't making sense to you, you go open up a jar. See what happens. See if the world don't look different, smell different, taste different, everything. So, anyways, Kat, you know, how are you feeling about it? Do you feel like we've solved all the world's problems, or where are we at on this?
I think we totally have. I think we've come really close to getting most of the problems solved. I like the fact that we, you know, this is this was nice. This was fun, man. This is as it always is, but this was cool.
Well, Kat, I feel like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I stepped all over you.
It's getting a little. It's starting to get a little dark here, and you know.
The portal's closing up. It looks like I can't adjust the fittings there. Hey, Kat. I just wanted to ask one more time though, before I forget. With all of the stuff that we're talking about when it comes to these products and stuff, just so people understand, what can you tell them where they can get cranial colon dislodge and all that stuff, and also.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, you can either buy them individually. At spikeandcat.com, or you can order them in the combo pack at that same address, spikeandcat.com. Head over there and check it out. And like we said, if it's not right for you, it's definitely right for somebody else or somebody that you know. And that cocoa butter scent, ooh, I'll tell you about that was truly a game changer.
Something's happening, Kat. My portal's starting to cramp up behind me.
Oh, God, hey, yeah, it is, dude. Holy cow.
Then before we go, make sure, oh, man, it's swallowing me up. Uh-oh, something's happening. Hey, Kat, before we go, everybody like and subscribe. We'll be doing this on a regular basis. Thanks to everybody for watching, right, Kat? And, hey, be a part of the show. Get in on the viewer mailbag. All you got to do is go to @SpikeandCat on all the social media out there, and
DM us, throw it. You can go on Instagram, go on there and send us your mail. Send us it in the mail. Just put Spike and Cat Show and a stamp. It'll get there. And
is that how it works? Is that nobody took the time to explain to me how postage works, Kat? And now I finally feel like I realize that's how it works. What's going on with that portal?
I think that's a thing. People try to make it way harder than it needs to be.
Dude, something's going on out there. My portal went away, but I before I get swallowed up in it, Kat.
That was amazing.
Look at that, it's back.
Came back, dude.
Oh, dude, something's happening.
All right, man. We better get out of here, dude. Quick. I don't want a Rocky and Bullwinkle situation to happen.
All right. Well, until next time, Kat. Peace and love to everybody.
Keeping that young demographic in there, Spike.
All right. Till next time.
Peace and love. Most of our lives. I had a couple of kids.
I've had a couple of wives. We'll talk about the shit we think we know. Back and smile. It's a Spike and Cat Show.